As you know, I am poly, which means that I go on a lot of first dates. And I remember when my first dates would feel very performative and that I was trying really hard to be chosen. And now I'm like, absolutely not. I go on first dates less so hoping that the person will like me, and now more curious on if I am going to like them. And before I even leave my house, I have a handful of little rituals that I do that help me stay grounded, protected, and completely myself. And I am very excited to walk you through them. Welcome to the Love Siren Podcast, your weekly dose of enchantment for the modern romantic. I'm Dahlia, your queer, poly, feminist witch, guiding you into your most magnetic, irresistible siren self. If you're craving ocean-deep love, delicious confidence, and results that last, you've just unlocked the right portal. Thank you so much for being here. Let's get into it. Okay, I want to let you in on a Love Witch secret, which is that chemistry is so delicious and intoxicating and fun and stimulating, and it can feel like love, and it can feel like that earth-shattering, this once-in-a-lifetime movie kind of love. But it is absolutely useless if you are not compatible. And the compatibility is where the actual magic is. When I'm working with my clients, I make them do this gigantic workbook. I don't know exactly how many questions there is, but I feel like there's probably about 80, plus a couple of like oaths that you make to yourself and like deals that you make with the universe. And what it's trying to get at is, what do you actually want out of your partner? And in conjunction, what do you want out of your life? So it asks questions that are things I think people wouldn't necessarily think about, like how much time do you want the television on during the day? That was something that I really struggled with my ex-partner, where he frequently would just, have the TV on all night. And I would be like, this is when I want to do my art though. And I don't want to watch TV all night. But it would be very easy because that felt like that was the only like quality time that we would get together. And then, I realized, oh, wait a minute, this isn't quality time at all. So when it seems clear that a date is on the table, that is when I ask my 3 deal breaker questions. The first one is, who did you vote for? Which should be very obvious. And if it's not, we're probably not compatible. Number 2 is, what is your STI health practices? As aforementioned, I am poly. I want to protect not just myself, but also my other partners. And I feel like it also is just a very insightful question to kind of see where they are with this kind of structure, with this kind of language. And I have had people be like, I don't even understand what you're asking, or that have never gotten an STI test before, which is so scary to me. But I would much rather have that information immediately rather than not. And then the last question is, what book are you reading? And I think that this one could be seen as my most ableist question. But I have dyslexia. It takes me a very long time to read. I still always have some book on rotation that I am reading. I especially like to do what I like to call one broccoli book, which is like, a self-help book or a sociology book or whatever it is. And then one candy book, which is like, like the Hunger Games. Something fun and delicious. We like a balanced diet of both. And I have bent on this question in the past, and honestly, I have always regretted it. There is something about having somebody who reads, and I use the term read very, very loosely. Audiobooks 100% count. Graphic novels totally count. Like, I'm very flexible, but I want you to be doing something. You know what I mean? I've even bent and gone on a first date with a couple of non-voters who had very good reasons. And even then, I fully regretted going on those dates. It was not worth it. And I would really recommend doing this practice for yourself. What are your deal breaker questions? And then what happens when you bend them? Because for me, it just helped reinforce that these are questions that I need to ask immediately. It also means that I have questions ready to go when I meet somebody in the wild rather than just on the apps. So, for example, I had this very handsome man hit on me at the bar, and I asked him who he voted for, and he said, you're going to have to let me take you to dinner first. And I said, absolutely not. I also asked them what role they would play in a heist. This is not a deal breaker question, but it is a psychology question. And it is the first question on my 25 unhinged questions to ask on a first date freebie that you can get if you go to the link in the description below. I love asking this question because I feel like I can get a real snapshot on what kind of person they think they are before going on the date. So I would say that my number one most popular answer is getaway driver, which I feel like is a straight up green flag. Love a getaway driver. You know, they want to be part of the action. They don't want to hurt anybody. They want to be helpful. They don't want to be in charge. And I typically get along great with getaway drivers. Masterminds, on the other hand, I find that I get along with way less. But I actually don't want to talk about my preferences because I don't want to skew you if you are somebody who is going to be using these questions and you find somebody who is a mastermind, because maybe you would love that. I just don't like that. Moving on, I always do a grounding ritual before I leave my house. I typically will sit on the floor. That's when I feel the most grounded, but you might like to lay on your bed, sit in a chair, whatever feels comfy. And I put a hand on my heart and one around my sacral chakra, so around my belly button area. And I remind myself, what am I actually looking for? I'm not looking for somebody who's hot. I'm not looking for somebody who even texts back. I want the qualities that I am trying to structure my life with. How do I want to feel with this person? And then I also remind myself what I bring to a relationship, right? Like, I am very kind. I communicate super clear. I like to think I'm funny. Got a great giggle. And I'm generous, and I'm frankly totally magical. Because when you remember what your value is, then you stop trying to convince somebody to see it. I do date all genders, and that does include cis men. And I have been taught my whole life to be afraid of cis men for good reason. But I also do this protection spell no matter who I am going on a date with. So I typically, in that same grounding, I will kind of transition into my protection spell, where I imagine myself surrounded by light, whatever comes to me at the time. It typically tends to be like a golden iridescent kind of light. And then I will have a eggshell around it. That's something that is quite thick. And I say that only energy aligned with my highest good may enter this space. Anything manipulative, dishonest, or draining bounces right off. Because one thing that I really struggle with when I'm dating men, and something that I think a lot of my friends do, is that because the bar is so low, it's really easy to assume that everyone is dangerous, but it's actually more about remembering how precious your energy is. And we also don't want to waste time on people that aren't right for us. And we don't want to waste their time either if we're not good for them. I also obviously have all of my protective jewelries as well. I have my necklaces, I have my bracelets, I have my rings. I usually will carry my Hades pendulum with me, either in my bra or in my pocket. Anything that just kind of gives me that extra oomph. Okay, the next ritual is my absolute favorite, and I think the one that surprises the people the most, which is I always bring my first date flowers. Not only because the generosity feels really good to me, but I love being able to arrive with some beauty, and I love seeing people's reactions. Most of the time, people are very thankful and really excited to get flowers, but I've had some men get absolutely like flabbergasted. I had one man, I think he must have felt like guilty that he didn't bring me flowers. And so he gave me my own flowers back to me, which I think he was trying to be nice, but I didn't think it was very nice. I remember reading a statistic. I can't remember exactly why don't I just look it up? I'll look it up. Hold on. Okay, it's even more depressing than I remember. Only 12% of men will receive flowers in their lifetime. And most of the time, the first time they will receive flowers is at their funeral. And so when I read that, I was like, oh, I am absolutely going to do my part to make sure that I can increase this number as much as I can, even if it's just in my own circles. I will also say, too, that a little bit of this is a wound from my ex because he never bought me flowers. And I'm hesitant to use the word never because I don't know. But if it was, I don't really remember it. And I'm sure that it was in the single digits over the 10 years that we were together. I have since been blessed with partners after him who have showered me with flowers. And I'm so grateful every single time they bring me so much joy, so much joy. But I think that me bringing flowers to other people is also me trying to heal that wound. And then during the date itself, my only job is to just stay connected to myself. Part of the reason why I created the 25 unhinged questions was so that way you always had a Rolodex of questions to ask. So that way you could stay present and feel how your body is feeling, feel if you actually like this person. Are they doing a good job with the prompts? Or are they asking you what you think? Like, it's a way to kind of help you on this date so that way you can focus on those micro clues instead of needing to spend all of your energy thinking on what to say. Because sometimes first dates can be scary. Sometimes they can be intimidating. Hopefully you just have great conversation and you don't even need to use my questions, but they're always there if you need them. And then as I'm driving home, I will usually spend that car ride in silence. I try not to use any music and I really just start feeling how I feel. I start thinking about the conversation. I think about, do I like this person? Do I want to spend another night with this person? My time, again, is very precious. Usually for first dates, I'll give them like a Tuesday or a Wednesday where I don't really care if I miss out on that day. But would I give this person a Saturday night? Like, that's prime real estate. And I just take a very honest account with myself. This can be easier said than done. Sometimes I can get really into that NRE, new relationship energy, and get really like yummy and delicious and like feel really good and potentially ignore some of those red flags that I might have been feeling. That's part of the reason why I like spending the entire car ride just in silence, so that way I can really reconnect to myself. And then when I am parked, but before I go inside the house, I will send them a text message thanking them for their time for coming out with me and that I am home safe and that I'm going to unplug and not use my phone for the rest of the evening. And I will immediately put my phone on Do Not Disturb unless I need to text other people. Maybe I can just like mute that particular person, but I just don't look at any messages for the rest of the evening. And then I go inside and I don't carry anybody's energy with me when I go inside. So I always immediately wash my hands. One of my favorite habits that I learned from COVID. I will wash my hands and I will visualize unplugging the energetic cords between us. I always thank the universe for whatever the experience I'm supposed to get from this is going to teach me. And if we're meant to reconnect, amazing. And if not, I release them with love. because I always want to stay available to the right connection. I don't want to develop any kind of attachment, especially this early. Okay, so obviously this is all about the first date ritual on a whole, but I wanted to offer a couple of little ideas as well as you are going through the process. So the first one is to listen to a self-love subliminal as you are getting ready. I have a really great one in the link in my description if you're interested. But I really do recommend this instead of listening to music because especially if you are a person that tends to just hit shuffle, you never know when like a breakup song is going to come on or one song that you listen to with your ex or, whatever it is that might just accidentally put you in a bad mental place. And so instead, listening to all of that high vibe subliminal music instead. If you are a person who wears a scent like perfume or cologne or essential oils, I love anointing those oils as I put them on my skin. So you might have it be, I reveal my authentic self with ease, or may I clearly see this person as you are applying that scent to yourself. And then as you smell it throughout the evening, you can be reminded of that particular affirmation. This one is a little bit of a weird one, but I do need you to stick with me. I have a first date outfit that I wear on all of my first dates. I think it is the perfect dress where it is fun and just the right amount of revealing. And I feel really good in it. And I love using it because it means that I'm always dressing for myself rather than what I think the other person wants me to dress up as. If you are feeling a bit nervous before the date, I would really recommend just doing a giant shake right before leaving the house. And you can stomp on the ground, you can jump up and down, anything that is just kind of literally getting that anxiety out of your body. And then right before you leave the house, I really recommend doing some threshold magic. And what I mean by that is a lot of times we can take our preconceived notions on to our dates, right? We have exes that bring a lot of baggage with us. We have bad first dates that we can kind of like brace ourselves for. And so what I want you to do is as you are going through the front door of your house, leave all of those preconceived notions behind because you want to set this person up for as much success as you possibly can on this first date. If they mess it up, that is their choice, but you want to be the person that is like, I know that I did everything I could to make this as successful of a first date as possible. Because when you do that, it means that you're just that much more in alignment with yourself. And then you are clear-headed to be able to make the decision on if you want a second date or not. Rather than being like, well, I was kind of mean to this person. I just kept on talking about my ex and how much they hurt me and how much I think men are trash and how I once caught him in bed with a weasel. Like, whatever it is, We're just trying to set you up for success. Okay. I think we did it. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I'm so curious if you have any first date rituals that you would recommend as well. If you're interested in the 25 unhinged questions to ask on a first date, you can find that in the description below. My DMs are always open, and as always, I love you. Bye.